Hello everybody, this is Raw and I am playing the Kerbal Space Program. A lot of you might have gotten this game recently from Steam. It is an awesome game, probably where the majority of my free time has gone recently. And I wanted to show you what I've been up to. I wanted to kind of display some of the things that I've been able to make, and that way I can get some questions on what you guys are trying to do and see if I can help you do that. First thing I wanted to show off here was some VTOLs. VTOLs have recently been in a lot of YouTube videos. Scott Manley put one on K2, and Harv and Matt in their challenging YouTuber series tried to land some on top of the buildings, and what ensued was a lot of crashes, which is of course what happened to me as well. I did figure something out, and I did make a lot of improvements to the basic jet-powered VTOL design like what Matt was doing, but long story short, mine can actually be controlled. The secret to this is the fact that it is a hybrid with both jet engines and rocket engines. I'll show you how that works. What we're going to do here is we're going to take off from the launch pad. We are going to fly very low level over to that building over there. That's the rocket assembly building, the RAV. We're going to land on top of that and then go land right in front of the hangar, all with great ease of control. So here we go. Of course that was going to happen. Let's try that again. Okay, so there's touchdown in the building. And there's touchdown right in front of the hangar. So, here's how you do this. Pretty much the two things that I do in these VTOLs to make them just a tad different are, well, first of all, always put a cockpit or a control module that's going to let you see straight up and down on the nav ball. That way you can tell your lateral velocity so you can make sure you're moving straight up and down when coming in for a landing. That's very important. Second, the reason for the two types of engine, the jet and the rocket, is for that little bit of control. The jet engines have a horrendous throttle lag. So if you're trying to make yourself hover or try to come in on a controlled descent just by throttling up and down the jets, you will very likely die. Now the way that I've done this is sort of a trick here in the action groups. I've added the three engines, as you can see, to the staging control, which is of course the spacebar. So when I launched right from the launch pad, you saw how I hit the stage and only the jet engines turned on. Well, that's because the stage itself turned on the rocket engines, but then the toggle turned them back off. Now at full throttle, this ship is barely light enough to stay in the air with these two jets pumping at full throttle. So what I do is I just hit the spacebar once to toggle the engines on, hit the spacebar once again to toggle the engines off, and that way I can nudge it in the air or to have a controlled descent or do whatever I need to do. This makes it very easy to land this craft wherever you want. You can also, fly it at slow speeds, real close to like the ground without any danger of really crashing into it, and it really makes the VTOLs a lot easier to work with. Now another one that I built after I started figuring that out, just kind of for fun, and this one I really like it. I think it looks really fun. It looks really cool, and it's fun to fly it too. It's basically a UFO. It is a probe, so it has nobody in there. It doesn't even have landing gear because I couldn't make UFO looking landing gear. And actually, of the VTOLs that I've made using this new little design with the combination of the jet engines and the rocket engines, it's one of the ones that flies the best. I've actually been flying this around a lot lately, and I just see put a lot of stuff in there to make it look like a UFO, both above and below. So this one has 4 jet engines, 4 of the 50 thrust rocket engines, and an Aerospike. Lots of tanks and stuff to make it look UFO-y. Of course, tons of lights. And in the top, the only thing noteworthy here, of course, is, well, if you look around, there's a lot of these cones for decoration and whatnot, and there's only one that's big and white. That's so that I know which way is back, so that I know which way is forward, of course. So this is back. As long as I'm looking straight at this, then I know that if I pitch forward or side to side, it will do so as it appears here. So let's go ahead and put this bad boy in the air. The staging on this one I've done a little bit different. I did it the same as the other ones, that the rockets are to the staging control, as well as the release of these. But the rockets aren't strong enough to keep it in the air. So I've also bound to start the jet engines to key number 1, as I am doing right now. So as soon as those are spun up, pumping out, close to the 140 kilonewtons that they are capable of doing, that's pretty good there. I will turn on the lights and go. Of course, computer controls are a must. And there, the flying UFO. Now this one is heavier than the jets can fly in the beginning. So you'll see how it just gradually starts to come back down. Especially as we're tilted forward to fly. Let's go sweep past the monolith. And you'll see how easy it is to just keep it steady and flying very close to the ground. I'll also do my UFO impression over the ocean. I think looks pretty neat. Alright. As you can see, we're fairly close to the ground. And getting closer. I can literally fly it at this height all I want, even in hilly terrain, because I can just use the rocket engine to boost me off the ground. We're going to buzz the monoliths. And now we'll go ahead and go to the ocean. So, here is my UFO impression. Of course, I needed to be down a little bit further for this. And right over the ocean. Let's go ahead and just throttle it down a little bit. Again, I'm not going to even try to adjust the throttle so that it's hovering, but enough so that I can every now and then tap the rockets and keep it in the air will be good enough. Alright. See if I can keep it pretty level. Alright, here we go. And there we have a VTOL UFO that almost crashed. Very much the flying saucer, which is sort of apt for where I am here, since I am pretty close to Roswell, New Mexico, which most of you UFO or space lovers know is where supposedly a UFO crashed. So yeah, I found that to be pretty befitting. Now let's go do some low-level flying, and since this has no landing gear, eventually crash it. So I'm going to go in the right direction. We're going to go for those hills. We're going to keep that white thing pointed back at us. Alright, there we go. I got a little speed. Take that off. Zoom in here. So as the eagle eye among you will see, like Scott Manley says, we got a lot of reaction wheels on here. That's the only thing that's really keeping this thing under control. The vectoring on the engines is not nearly enough to do anything. And even though this is easy to fly over because it's pretty much flat ground, you'll see there's no problem when I run into the hilly bits either. Just a little nudge. When you see it start to dip a little too much over here. And of course I'll also nudge it when I want it to avoid, hills and stuff. So we're really scraping it right now. We're at 70 meters according to this thing, but that's 70 meters above sea level. That's not even 20 meters in reality. And down the other side of the hill. This kind of reminds me of the skiing in Tribes Ascend. I don't know if any of you guys ever played that. I played it for a couple of weeks. But in that game, you could pretty much skate over the terrain on like robotic rollerblades. The game was kind of fun. I just never really got into it. This is what this kind of reminds me of. Zipping over the landscape, low to the ground as fast as the ship can carry us. And down that way. Well, let's take the peak. Now the reason why I go for jets with these VTOLs and not rockets might be apparent now. We've been flying for quite a while in quite a huge craft, doing a lot of maneuvering, and we are nowhere near out of fuel. So not only is it way easier to fly than any of the other alternatives, it's also one of the most efficient and fun. Right. Uh-oh. That was close. Last thing I wanted to do here was some acrobatics, or aerobatics, actually. And here we go. I find another VTOL that you can do a barrel roll at 400 meters above sea level, which is really about 100 because we're right on there. And the last one. And there we go. So that's my UFO right there. Like I said, no landing gear. But no Kerbals were harmed in the making of this flight, because it is unmanned. And I mean, like I was saying, we've been doing a lot of maneuvering, a lot of, pitching it over, a lot of burning the rockets to keep it in the air. And we're still at almost no fuel used. We could keep this going for quite a while. Kind of reminds me of, you guys remember in Star Wars when Han and Luke are cut out in Hoth and the speeder pilot is kind of like flying around looking for him? This ship kind of feels like that, like skimming the tops of the hills, flying down in the troughs. Yeah, so it's kind of my rebel speeder, even though it looks more like a UFO. And I guess it's about time I take this thing and crash it somewhere. So, we've already landed on top of the VAV. Let's go ahead and crash into it now. Coming in low and level. Let's pick up some speed. This thing has a lot of parts, so hopefully it'll be a pretty spectacular crash. Losing a bit of frames, but it's okay, it'll be over soon. Boom! And turtle tanks and other debris everywhere. Okay then. So that's pretty much my guide to making jet-powered and very flyable VTOLs. Of course, I don't have to be this intricate. This was just because I wanted to make a UFO. The other model I made is probably one of the easiest to copy. As you can see, it's basically just a probe body, some reaction wheels, some intakes, some rocket engines, and 3 jet engines. Now, you guys might have noticed on the last two that I did put all the exhausts always looking down. Forgot to go over that when I was actually flying these. The reason I do that is best if I just show you guys. Don't worry, this will be quick. Let's put this bad boy in the air. Okay, this is the one that I made with seats and a ladder, so I can go pick people up. This is the rescue flying saucer. Like I said, pretty simple. Now, air intakes, right? Of course, computer controls. One of the reasons why jets are so hard to use for this kind of vehicle is because their impulse varies depending on how much air they're getting. You start moving, they get more air. They start pushing harder. You stop moving, they get less air. They start pushing softly, and you fall out of the sky. So, what I did was I put them there so that when I'm flying level, like this, or hovering, we're getting the bare minimum of air. Now, if I, for some unforeseen reason, all of a sudden have to brake, the air would be forced into the intakes because I was moving in that direction at great speed. I'll do that again with the actual intake. Actually, no, I'll do that with the impulse of the engine showing. So let's pick up some speed. Okay. So the specific, the thrust is 144.9 kilonewtons. When I pull up, it's already 145. It's already 146, already 147, 148, 149. So it's not a lot, but it means that I'll get that little extra thrust more than what I had before when I decide to slam on the brakes. With a craft that is well balanced as this one, that it barely stays in the air at full thrust, and if I have it so that it's not staying in the air at full thrust, those, what have you, 10 extra kilonewtons of thrust will actually make the craft rise, even though the throttle setting would have it falling out of the sky. And the second you go back to the level flight, you'll again be falling out of the sky and having to boost. So that's why these aim down. That's another thing you might want to incorporate in your VTOL designs if you decide to do these. So for now, that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you guys. All feedback is of course welcome, this being my first episode or my first video on YouTube at all. Other things that I've been practicing have been moon missions, Minimus missions, SSTOs, space stations, just pretty much anything except interplanetary missions for now. Those I haven't had a successful one yet, so I will definitely refrain from making any videos about that. So for now, you guys let me know if there's anything you want explained. I know there's a lot of great videos from other YouTubers, like, Scott Manley and Har from Hawk Gaming, explaining things like orbit transfers. But a lot of those videos were filmed in older versions of the Kerbal Space Program that don't look like this anymore. So if you guys want me to remake any of those videos, want me to go over, staging patterns, orbital maneuvers, things like that, feel free to leave a comment on this video and I will do what I can. For now, let me just bring this puppy down. Top of this again, since it's my party trick for today. And of course, I always over flare. There we go. And cut it off. Beautiful. So till next time, and again, please let me know what you want to see me do next time. This is Raw, signing off.